welcome out to a special episode of It's All Been Track Before. This time, is it special? It's just part of it. Either way, it's the Season 5 wrap-up. Can you believe it? Season 5 of TNG wrap-up. Some of you never thought we'd make it, which is great that you hung with us this long, even though you doubted us, and that makes us feel rewarded. Speaking of rewarded, come to IBD, patreon.com/IBD, and you'll truly be rewarded. You reward us for giving you all this content, and we reward you for being great supporters. Patreon.com/IBD. So great. And just like, I think you're going to hear a lot of great comments on this Season 5 wrap-up of It's All Been Tracked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tracked Before. Your regular hosts are here.
This is Steven.
Keith is here, and Jimmy Jerome.
Sort of.
We're here to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 5. First impressions of the season overall.
Well, as we've said a lot this season, it's been, I think, unusually strong. And I was also saving this comment for this episode, that I think it didn't help us that we had that big break in between watching some of these things. It was just a lot of the good stuff that we saw in the first half. I guess a lot of the bad stuff, too. It just starts to blend together, and I think that's why the rankings is just all over the place.
Yeah. I agree, and I think this season had a number of episodes that felt either good or bad on first watch, and then as you think about them later, feel different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get into recency bias a lot, and also, as our listeners know, that's a staple of the podcast, is when we do rank the episodes, it's, what's that episode?
No, they don't know that because I cut it all.
Oh,
that's
Patreon. That's good.
I cut all the, what's that episode? This is what happened.
As our Patreon listeners know.
The podcast rankings actually go pretty quick.
That's good. Okay, good.
Because I don't want them to wait around 10 minutes for us to figure out.
Yeah, just the
That's a
important
great
parts of the
part to
debate.
cut, yeah.
That is a great part to cut. But just to your guys' point, episode 2 of the season was Darmok. That's one reason Darmok seems so long ago.
Oh my god.
Ensign Rowe was episode 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
This started with Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Do you remember Redemption 2?
Nope.
vaguely.
Yeah.
I remember it was about
It's not very
Klingons.
redeeming.
Keith, do you remember Times Arrow Part 1? We watched it 2 hours ago.
Yes.
We just finished talking about it. Spoiler.
it's that the notes for it are actually on my screen right now. I'm still looking at them.
Okay, I buy you remember that. Do you remember the inner lighter? Is that already gone?
No, that's a little tougher.
That was 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other weird part is from other seasons there were more episodes that it was of course we forgot about that episode because we don't care about it because it wasn't that great. But I'm looking back and The Game was this season, Unifications Part 1 and 2, which are our top 2 episodes.
The First Duty.
Yeah, there's
Ethics.
a lot.
Times Arrow. The Next Phase. Violations. This episode had more good episodes. Or this season had more good episodes.
Yeah.
I really feel like you got to get down to Silicon Avatar hero worship to get into the questionable territory, and that's 3 and 4 from the end.
Yeah.
Now the last 2, Power Play and Imaginary Friend, those are crap. But
Wow.
no, they're like the original series season 3 crap. They're not animated series level crap, but they're season 2
Season 3 level.
Yeah, Imaginary Friend
is
was pretty.
It's pretty bad. Creepy kids. But honestly, season 5 is where Next Gen... I think we said about seasons 3 and 4, this is where Next Gen finds its stride. But season 5 really is. They have locked in on these characters. They finally figured out how to write Geordi.
Yep.
This is the season where Geordi became a likable character.
Yep.
After 4 seasons of being awful. And LeVar Burton didn't deserve that. He deserved to have a good character to play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got 2 more seasons of Next Gen left. I can't imagine the quality of those 2 seasons is going to be better than this one. The quality level on this, on average, is just so high. If they're going to match or be lower, I think.
And the natural, I think, most television shows that last this long, this would be about the time where you'd see some drop off and people change and that kind of stuff.
Next Gen did not drop off audience and quality though into its final season. They canceled it to make movies, not because it was
that's true. That's true.
I mean, they went straight from filming the series finale to the first film.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
they unlike I mean, I feel like it's more common nowadays for shows to get to end on their own terms
Yes.
than it used to be.
Yeah.
In this era, this was unique that they got to end on their own terms. They picked how long they wanted to go on, and the only reason they ended is because they were done with Kirk and the films. They wanted to make films. And Paramount thought they'd make more money that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think now, like, you have shows where people are like, oh, I know where this is going to end.
Yeah.
They come in with, you've got 3 seasons,
Yeah.
so you can tell whatever stories you're going to tell.
Well, Next Gen was so important because the 7-season model they copied for DS9 and for Voyager. They both ran 7 seasons. Enterprise, I think we're going to wish it got to go 7 seasons, but we'll see when we get there. It only got 4. But yeah, we'll debate out how this season ranks against original series seasons, and that is a debate to have. But in terms of Next Gen, I think this is the best season so far. And that means our ranking for Next Gen seasons have been 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
So if we're adding 5 to the top,
just
it's
getting
5,
better
4,
and
3,
better.
2, 1.
All right.
I mean, not to put it off, do you think that's where it deserves to be?
Yep.
Yeah. I
Just,
get it.
It was an easy decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been so obvious the way these seasons are ranked. How many shows, though, get better and better 5 seasons in? That seems a rarity to me.
for me, usually the animated ones.
That's where I was. That's what I was thinking because they're all long term.
Yeah.
Like Family Guy.
Oh, certainly.
It depends. who you
South
talk
Park,
to.
it's right around season 18 or 19.
That's the one I need to go back and revisit because I haven't.
Yeah.
Other than sparingly.
Futurama, the third time it was rebooted for cancellation.
I just thought about that too, off my head, just things like that.
No, we haven't seen new episodes yet, but I love Futurama. It is odd to me. The whole aspect of this show is odd to me. The way it was created. At that point, you weren't making sequels to television shows. They weren't doing reboots or revivals or anything.
No.
And they kept relatively tied to the original. We got Spock and Sarek this season, which were released in conjunction with the 25th anniversary and with Star Trek VI, which was the original series' final film. So they really tied into the franchise this season, but they also stood on their own. And I feel by season 5, Next Gen did not have to say, oh, we're the continuation series. They were their own series.
Well, and as I've talked about, I feel like I hear from more of my friends about, oh, you guys are on TNG now. That's great. And because that's their Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I
a lot
haven't
of
really
people's-
seen the original series, and yet they're still friends with me, but they're also usually a lot younger than me, too. So it that's their that's their Star Trek. That's where they got in. I mean, there's definitely people later, too, but... we talked about, especially for me going through it originally, it's like, oh, there's going to be another Star Trek. This is...
Yeah.
I can't believe this is actually happening, but,
But then you didn't watch it.
But yeah, I didn't because I had a girlfriend, so I was really into
Your
that.
girlfriend should have watched it.
And this was on Saturday nights,
Oh, God.
so
No DVR, no streaming.
yeah. So
The
I
syndication, I would have thought that they would usually replay it throughout the week.
Really?
I didn't. Yeah, it was. So it was.
They did later. When Next Gen went off the air and DS9 and Voyager were airing, they did rerun Next Gen a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't think they rerun Next Gen a lot while Next Gen was still airing.
So like in Dayton, where I was from, you could see it at like 7 o'clock to Saturday night, and then they would show it again at like 11, and then depending on your cable, you might have got it out of there was a Columbus station that showed it too, so you might get a third chance to see it. So
Yeah,
I would see more of it getting back after the night out, or whatever I did with my girlfriend or whatever. But I don't remember.
11 o'clock, those dates weren't very successful. That's not what this is about.
Yeah, it's not about me and my girlfriend
We're not grilling
on a couch.
this love life.
Well, actually, even while between seasons, like summer, they would usually rerun things quite a bit.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yes,
too,
I do
yeah.
think they did
Yeah.
that, yes.
Syndication. So.
But they probably didn't rerun The Imaginary Friend. Actually, they probably did rerun Imaginary
Yeah.
Friend.
Yeah, they'll just go.
Yeah,
They whatever.
whatever order. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to run anything that might have, like, serial components. So they may not run the Inner Light or something if they think it matters more to Picard's character overall, or I don't know.
Yeah.
They probably would not rerun Time's Arrow, except maybe right before they run the new episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they just pick
Yeah.
10, 12 episodes and run them.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Different time.
This season, I don't know, it just... It was when you're right. This is about when they started getting really popular. For a while, they were like the most popular show on television.
Yeah.
They were like Friends or Seinfeld or Cheers level popular, and that to me is still hard to fathom as well because I love Discovery the new track, but they haven't. They must be successful because Paramount Plus keeps making new Star Trek, but at the same time, like I know very few people that watch them. But the culture now is so splintered.
Yes.
Right. This was still the time of
This is
4
when
or 5 channels.
25 million people were tuning in.
Yes.
Now, if they get 1 million, they're like, "Oh, that's great."
Yeah.
Of course, we don't. I mean, I think we just don't talk about things that way with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
It's. I'm sure there are places you can just search on the internet right now, and there's going to be people just going on about Discovery somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But-
there are.
Oh, I got
just
asked to join a Facebook group today for Discovery specifically. So.
But I mean, just in our
good
daily
things.
lives, we don't run into people in quite the same way. For this would be, I guess, further in the fringes of a niche of a type of discussion. Whereas there are certain other shows that like something on Netflix that just happened to come out. People
Right.
are all watching it
All
right
rage.
then, and then even for Discovery, I would think it was like when the season starts or whatever. It's there, but there's always something else to keep pulling your attention away.
I was to say, I have friends that aren't huge Star Trek fans, but they'll watch Discovery, but they'll watch a season at a time, a year after it ends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got friends that are big Star Trek fans that aren't watching all the new Star Trek shows as they come out. You too. But others as well.
Yeah, I blame Google for everything, but also give Google credit for everything. So, like, I get notifications about what's going on in Discovery, which is another reason I watch it every week. So the headline doesn't give anything away. And Euphoria is a show I watch religiously now, which is kind of a niche show right now, a hot show, I guess, for lack of a better term. And so I'm constantly getting stories about that too, for example. But I do get Picard things,
Yeah.
like, oh,
That's coming back
here's
next
something for
week.
Picard, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to read this. So
Yeah, they're going to run Discovery and Picard together for like a month, starting next week.
It's just it's a constant dance for me too. Usually, to just keep avoiding headlines and pictures, and just like, oh man, scrolling
What's
to me.
really hit me this season of Next Gen is as we get all these really great standalone episodes, as much as I want a little more serialization of like, let's see the after effects of the inner light on Picard, which we didn't in the season finale.
Yeah.
As much as I like that, I go watch Discovery, it's a 15 episode We Must Save the Universe. Next season it's another 15 episodes We Must Save the Universe. And I miss the gems of the standalones. And I'm really hoping Strange New Worlds, which by the time this goes up will have already premiered, addresses that. And they said it's supposed to.
I agree.
Because I think there's other fans feeling
And
the
we've
same
talked
way.
about, like, Discovery wanted to try and do that, but they have visited more planets, but it's still been under the...
Well, it all comes
still-
back together at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I do want the characters to develop as the stories.
Sure, but I'm with you. That's... I told you guys, we talked off mic about me watching all the X-Men movies, which takes me back to the MCU, and one of my problems with the MCU movies that I finally got to was like, oh, the universe is ending again. I don't care. I don't care.
See, I'm still on the MCU train, so...
I mean, I still enjoy a lot of them, but I'm more interested in a smaller story rather than
Like an Ant-Man, for example.
yeah,
Or a Deadpool.
like this is the end. Yeah, like this is the if all the movies where it's the end of the world and we're blowing up a city again because the X-Men series they got there too. It's like, maybe there's a different story we can tell here.
Yeah.
That's where I'm kind of getting with Discovery too. It's like, all right,
I think it will be easier to take that once we have Strange New Worlds on the air.
Yeah.
Or if you're giving us both, I'll probably be happy.
Yeah.
I love Discovery. I just miss the chance to do a Inner Light or an
And
Iborg.
I think they've been able to work in moments of levity here and there and like connections between characters.
I would say a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I think honestly the modern Star Trek that does that model best is Lower Decks.
Yeah.
They have arcs, but they also have standalone
Yeah.
stories.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
Anyway, this season of Next Gen.
Yes. Sorry.
At where we ended, our top 5 episodes from best to 5th best are Unification 1, Unification 2, The Inner Light, Iborg, Redemption 2. Personally,
I'm sorry.
personally, I would move Inner Light and Iborg above Unification 1 and 2, and I would knock Redemption 2 down a spot to let Ensign Rowe make the top 5 instead of number 6.
I'm inclined to agree, actually, but I don't know.
You're inclined to agree that those belong above Unification 1 and 2? Or you're inclined to agree that Redemption should be swapped out for Ensign Row? Or both? Because I think Steven would argue Unifications belong up there.
Yeah.
But we might tempt him with Ensign Row.
Yes.
All right, let's there's something I was...
But Redemption 2 was the first episode of the season. Ensign Row was the third. So we ranked them recent together and said Redemption was better.
Yeah.
Though I think I argued for it to be better. Ensign Row better, but...
It changes week by week for me, unfortunately. Just so what am I thinking about that episode at the time? What do I remember? And sometimes it is just like, oh, it was Spock and Sarah, and that was enough. But then, just my criteria when I'm looking for these things, I tend to enjoy larger scopes for certain kinds of things. If they're visiting multiple locations, if it's going to have a larger impact on... if you can tell it's serialized in that sense, that it's going to have that type of impact throughout the season or the series, that already makes it more interesting. Or you're tapping back into something that's been going on for a while. When you also have the thought-provoking discussions about why you should do these things or those kinds of stakes. Just actually, when you get to see the entire cast actually being used appropriately, instead of being there because they have to be just to sprinkle a couple lines in or whatever. Which is I think why Inner Light wasn't as strong for me as it probably should have been.
Because it was too Picard focus?
Yeah, I don't know. That's sometimes having a single character focus isn't that bad, but it just felt...
I will get to the movies and how the movies basically just focus on Picard and Data and screw everybody else, which always upset me, because I want the other characters to get their justification. But, yeah, I see your point, Keith. I do think everybody got a turn this season. I do think Crusher's the one still getting the biggest shaft. She's the worst used character.
Yeah.
And she doesn't deserve it. You could argue that Geordi was the worst character before this season, but he got focus. They just did it bad.
And they gave him some focus in this season.
That was good. Yeah.
Pretty close together, and I really appreciated and enjoyed it. So.
And Crusher gets some good bits in episodes that aren't focused on her, but whenever they do a Crusher episode, it tends to suck.
Yeah.
And that's not her fault.
Yeah.
It's just they give her bad material.
Well, I think even the things we were watching more recently, it's just there's something grating about the way that they bring her in, and for her input, it's just to usually it is that kind of quick fire room dynamic of we have to have these differing types of opinions that represent these things, and hers is going to be this thing, and it's going to be just rammed.
I think part of the thing with Crusher here too is in the original series, McCoy was the Doctor, and he was so essential as the third member of the trio. Whereas in Next Gen, they did not establish the importance of the Doctor. In DS9, they find really interesting things to do with the Doctor without making him focus. And Voyager has a really interesting Doctor character as well. So does Enterprise. And so does Enterprise. So we get good Doctors after her. I don't think Next Gen knew what to do with the Doctor. But then you could argue Discovery really didn't have a main character Doctor for the first season or two until Culber became more prominent. And Universe Journey, the sci-fi series I write, hasn't had a Doctor main character in a couple. We haven't seen the Doctor since we've been on the station in seasons. And
I thought about that the other day. I was like, oh, it has been a while.
And it was that we've never seen the station's Doctor. Yeah. We've referenced them, we've never seen them. And for a while I was like, this feels weird because you've got to have a Doctor, but then how many stories do you need the Doctor for? And I think you have to have an interesting Doctor to write stories for, like DS9 and Voyager and Enterprise did, and they just never found a way to make Crusher interesting.
I guess that's pretty much it, isn't it? It's just... It becomes you have to force elements into episodes that require a Doctor instead of, or
because once they get hurt, they can go back to sick bay. We don't need to see them get healed, you know.
Or teaching Data to dance or something.
Yeah, more of that. We needed more theater. We needed more dancing.
I think they found a hard way to connect, like you said, the Doctor, what to do with it besides being a Doctor, or for like a better, worse explanation or a better one. How to use her as a woman.
Well,
because I think it was, she got kidnapped, or
Oh.
Yeah.
I think what they should have done is really lean into the Picard Beverly romance, but they
Yeah.
didn't.
Or just the tension of them not being together more, or
Or more
triangle.
theater on the show.
That,
I wouldn't have complained if we're more theater.
Yeah.
We'll see the 6th and 7th seasons, but I know there's a Beverly-centric episode coming up that's considered by many people to be the worst episode of the series.
Oh,
so
wow.
Oh.
we haven't got to the worst
Worse than
Beverly
Imaginary
episode.
Friend?
Yeah. And
and Code of Honor.
yeah, there's a 7th season Beverly episode that's considered worse than these other
Wow.
terrible Beverly episodes we've seen. So it's coming.
Buckle up.
That is almost enticing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to best episodes of the season. Instant Rose number 6. I say these top 6 while I reorder them are the top 6, and they're 6 really, really good episodes. I mean, even going below that, you got Perfect Mate, Cause and Effect, New Ground, The Game, First Duty, Disaster, Dharma. You haven't run out of great episodes yet.
Mm-hmm.
This is just such a strong season. Now the bottom of the season, and we start with 5 from the bottom and go down to the worst. Violations, which we actually liked.
And that's the
Migrate Troy stuff.
oh.
We actually liked that episode. Silicon Avatar.
Did we like Violation?
We did.
Like's like a strong word. I'm trying to
We
remember.
thought it was interesting.
Oh, it was
Interesting.
I think I'm thinking of the one where she lost her powers.
Oh.
That one I know.
Abilities.
The abilities. We did not like that.
Not superpowers. No, I think that was last season. So, Violation, Silicon Avatar, which isn't terrible. Hero Worship, which is okay. And then Power Play and Imaginary Friend.
Now, what was Power Play again?
That was the people take over Troy and
Yeah, and O'Brien.
Brian's minds, and they
Which
try to
wasn't
figure
the worst episode in the world.
Nah.
So, yeah, even the bottom of the season are just I'd still put a middling for the series as a whole. Now, if we compare the best episodes this season to the best episodes of other seasons, like last season, the top episodes were Family, The Wounded, Reunion. Those were great episodes.
Was the Wounded the whale thing?
No, The Wounded was O'Brien's old captain.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
So good. Best of Both Worlds, Sins of the Father, The Defector in Season 3. Season 2 had Measure of a Man, Matter of Honor, Emissary. Season 1, Haven, Heart of Glory, Naked Now. The Season 1 best episodes weren't that great, in my opinion. But I think Season 2, 3, 4 had strong episodes, but they didn't have as many super strong. And the Inner Light, Iborg, I would put them up against Family, A Measure of a Man, Matter of Honor. I'd put them up there. So the high points, I think, are among the highest of the series, and the low points are more middling of the series.
Yeah, even other than Imaginary Friend. I
That keeps coming up, and I'm trying to remember. I don't feel like I don't remember it being as bad as we seem to be
I
saying.
hated it.
I think we hated it more than you did.
Yeah, I don't think you hated it.
It was the
Creepy Kids.
Yeah, little girl with the.
I'm trying to think what exactly happened though. That was that. I mean, it was.
But was not as bad as Shades of Grey.
No, I was
So-
thinking about that earlier. Yeah, I think that's
Not worst episode of the series.
Shades of Grey was the clip
It was
episode.
clip episode in Season 2.
Uh,
Not as bad as Code of Honor
No,
in Season 1.
which was really terrible.
Not as bad as Galaxy's Child last season.
was that the whale?
No.
No.
Galaxy's Child, was that the?
See, I just wondered. It was
Galaxy's
some
Child
floating creature or something. Right?
was... Oh, it was LaForge being super creepy with
Oh, with
Dr. Leah Brahms.
and then they were trying to figure out the thing they had to get to.
Yeah, real Leah Brahms.
Yeah.
Who saw Holoneck Leah Brahms.
Yes.
That was
Oof.
so cringy.
Yeah. It changed
So-
the direction of our podcast.
It really
Part of our
did.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, if we want to talk about who we have a drink with, it was much easier when we had people that stuck around for episodes.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
So I don't know that we can really say, who's our person of the season unless somebody springs to mind. I'm looking through to see if we had some repeats, and you had Roe 3 times.
Okay, that makes sense.
That was going to be my guess.
I had Roe 3 times. You had Roe, Keith, once.
Once was enough. Oh, that's all.
But I'm looking through and I'm not seeing any other repeats. But this was the season with Famke Janssen. This was the season with Ashley Judd. We had some great guest spots. Bietor and Lursa, the Klingon sisters.
Oh yeah.
The Fat Ferengi and the escort. Amari with the piano playing. I loved Amari.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of good. Not lots, but we got a bit of good Nurse Agawa this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We wanted to have drinks with Boothby, or I did anyway.
Who was Boothby? That was
The gardener at Starfleet Academy.
Oh, yeah.
right.
We really liked Hugh, 3rd of 5. You guys were into the 49er. Sarek, Spock. So many good guest characters this season. And if we go to Annoyance, let's see if I see any patterns in the Annoyance. We were all getting annoyed by Sela when she was showing up multiple times. The Jarl. They call her on the Great Discovery Rom Yarlin.
Yeah. Oh.
She's the Romulan Yar. Rom Yarlin.
That's good.
I see Riker appearing more than his fair share this season. I do feel
a lot
like
of that was you.
Yeah, it is. But Steven chose Riker one week.
Yeah.
I think Riker. This was a weak season for Riker.
I agree.
Riker has been like a standout in earlier seasons, and this was the season where they just stopped giving him material.
Yeah, it was like they ran out of...
Wasn't he directing more this season or something? Maybe?
Yeah, he was.
That's probably what was...
that would make sense.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, Troy shows up on the annoying list. Crusher shows up on the annoying list.
Yeah.
Data shows up on the annoying list.
Of course, I think in the episode where he was directing was more like he was taking a step back, so he would actually have something kind of fun to do.
Oh, he was great in those episodes.
Yes.
I'm going to go back.
Yeah, we don't have a ton of... I mean, some of the main characters pop up once, twice. Yeah, I'd say this was Riker and Crusher weak seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Crusher gets weak every season, unfortunately. Right. Geordi, good season.
Yeah.
Data wasn't focused on as much this season, and I didn't hate that. Like, I felt like they did good with him, but it wasn't all Data. Yeah. We got some great Worf stuff this season. And great Picard stuff this season.
True.
Troy was kind of the middle.
Yeah.
The middle child here. Wesley they used well this season because he was in it so little.
Right.
The game and First Duty. Yeah. They were good.
I think Troy was it?
And Ro we wanted more of.
Yes.
Was she weak last season? I felt like it was like
I feel like last season she had a good... I think she had a good last season. This season she was more mediocre. We got Les O'Brien this season, which was a bummer, but that's because he's pulled back. Yeah. He's going over to DS9. Which we've talked about. We are doing this podcast in release order, which means we're going to do 11 episodes of Next Gen, and then we're going to go on back and forth with DS9 and
that starts next season.
That's coming up next season.
Wow.
So we've got instead of these 26 episode seasons, the original series we did like 30 episodes this season. This is going to be like 45, 50 episodes, maybe 60 episodes.
Yeah.
No, not more than like 52. Yeah. But we're going to be doing like 45, 50 episodes between hiatuses. And we're far enough ahead now that we're incorporating Zoom. Yeah. We can do that, but we're going to be doing more episodes per season and jumping back and forth.
That'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
That'll shake things up. It'll make it even harder to just be like, what episode?
Oh my god.
What was in that?
It will be. And we'll be ranking them separately.
Right. Oh no.
Which is rough. I mean, do we want to rank them separately, or do we want to say this is Next Gen Season 6 and DS9 Season 1 is one season?
I think we rank them separately, but just for fun, then we rank them together.
We can decide, like, what's the better season? Yeah, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's not going away, because after Next Gen Gazethia, Voyager comes on that next year.
Wow.
So there'll be another 10 episodes of DS9 on, so and then Voyager comes in. So it's going to be a lot of back and forths. And then when DS9 ended, they waited until Voyager ended before Enterprise started. So we had Voyager by itself for a bit at the end.
Get there.
But yeah, it's going to change the podcast. It'll be nice when we do these two episode evenings, where a lot of times we'll be doing two different series in one evening.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think we need to pick an annoyance. I don't think we need to pick a have a drink with. I'd say we've talked a lot about the seasons as a whole. Any standout moments or episodes you want to talk about that we didn't hit? I think their budget was increased this season, it seemed like.
Yeah.
Had to have been.
I thought and maybe I'm overstating it, well, maybe it was just the episodes we've just done the last several weeks, but I thought they did better with the high concept stuff.
Yeah.
It felt more like, because I think what was one of the great things about the original series was they had a lot of sci-fi writers writing stuff, and then they smushed it into a TV thing, and then what became the problem with TNG that season one was like, you had all the people who picked it up after those guys were like, hey, I've written them all, I'm going to write for you. I'd move on. The Harlan Ellisons, the Robert Blocks, and those guys. And they were just like, well, we know how to crank out a TV show. It's like, well, that's cool, but we want some new, fresh ideas. And then I think, over the last several seasons, we've got more into people that are writing more fresh sci-fi.
Yeah.
Fresh, yet old school sci-fi. In my mind, old school sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to smush it into the world of these guys. So
I'm really glad we're not trying to rank these seasons mixed with original series seasons, because the problem with original series seasons, those first 2 seasons had such amazing episodes that we could rank against the best of these. But then they had terrible episodes that would go way below this. And trying to find how that would line up at this point is so difficult.
yeah.
We'll rank at the end of Next Gen. I'm going to ask you, was Next Gen better than the original? And that will be a hard question to answer.
I think, well, first of all, I'm biased toward more modern things
Yeah.
for a number of reasons. And one of the main reasons is just the nature of the way that they treated television back then.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's going to always hold that back
That's
for me. And
fair.
that's why you have that kind of wild, because this is as much as they could manage to get away with getting you. Okay, well, we can sneak past this high concept thing here if we couch it in this other thing and then put it here and then just, okay, we just have to crank some other things out here with this budget. Just throw this over here and whatever.
The creativity of what they were doing and the challenge of what they were doing was greater in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it's hard to rank even the best of Next Gen with the best of original, because the best of the original were so... Everything working against them just makes them so high. I'm still not ready to call Next Gen is better than original after 5 seasons. Even after this season, I'm not willing to make that call, even though I think Next Gen is more consistently good than the original ever was.
Yeah, season 3 is so terrible of TOS that,
But even the bottoms of season 1 and 2 were real terrible.
Yeah, there are some. The alternative factor I always go to is one, like I've said before, like as a kid, I was like, we were like, man, that was so awesome. We would reenact that fight. And then as adults, when we watch it, I'm like, when is this going to be done? I can't believe this happened for this long.
Imaginary Friend was better than that episode. I'm sorry, it was.
It might be.
It was better than... I can think of a dozen original series episodes it was better than. Lights of Zatar!
And
Tomorrow is Yesterday! Yeah, we're gonna rank the series against each other, but I'm still not sure where I'm gonna land on that. I'm still on the fence.
I'm sorry.
Keith already gave away, but we got 2 seasons left to watch.
He's starting at Discovery. He's ranking Discovery.
I think what might help is, like I said, Next Gen got to go on its own terms.
Yeah.
And the ending is going to be so much more solid than the way original series ended, because the original series didn't go on its own terms. And it was doing the standalone, where Next Gen at their end got to pay off everything for 7 seasons. So, but I'm really looking forward to Deep Space Nine. I'm really looking forward to it. It's my favorite series. I've seen every episode. I've seen all the modern post-Kelvin-verse Star Treks too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's still some Voyager and Enterprise I haven't seen, so I'm looking forward to those. But
I think I watched all of Voyager, but it could turn out to be another one of those things where it's like TNG, where I felt like I watched everything and maybe didn't catch them all, or just...
I'm super familiar with all of them, but I haven't watched any of them, so I'm excited about that.
final thoughts on season 5.
I can't believe we're through 5 seasons, that we watched 100-some episodes of
We're
this.
5/7 of the way down. We've watched roughly 125 of 175 episodes.
Yeah, and you know,
we're down to the last 50. Home stretch.
And this
possible.
may speak more to my appetite of how much I love doing this podcast, how much I love Star Trek, but also I love these characters, so I'm not bored with this show by any means.
Is this leaving you energized to watch more Star Trek?
Yeah, it definitely
This isn't like wearing on you like, I can't wait to be done with this era.
No, like I said, it's, when we're doing the research, as I call it, and me and Chloe sit down to watch the latest episode. On the one hand, sometimes it's like, okay, I got to find this time to do this. But on the other hand, I always enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then when we get together and talk about it, because sometimes we'll talk off mic even before without tipping our hand too much, but still, it's like, you know what? I got to talk about it now anyway. I don't want to. I should save it for the podcast, but I won't. We'll talk about it then too. But So it's definitely got me more excited. Just in general, it's been good.
Yeah, I'm excited to keep going. I know this was such a good season.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, same. It's just as you were saying, this the folding in of things, actually getting to see the universe start to expand. I know that you've talked about DS9 quite a bit. I hope
I didn't oversell it.
No. The first couple of seasons, I mean, I enjoyed it. I just kind of lost track somehow.
Well, I keep telling you the first season's trash.
Yeah.
So don't expect great things.
I know as we move through, I'll get more and more references on Lower Decks.
Yes.
As I have
that too.
in Season 2.
O'Brien is the greatest the most important starting officer of all time. I still don't quite understand that, but I'm not against it.
Yeah. The Darmok reference this season on Lower Decks I would have never got before.
The Kayshawn. Yeah. That was real good. Yeah. Now DS9, like I said, the pilot's great. And there are a handful of great episodes in Season 1. The rest of Season 1's a stinker. But Season 2's not even that great either, but it really sets up. And once it hits Season 3, it just... And then Season 4 is amazing, and 4 through the end is amazing.
I don't know. I think, ironically, you're probably underselling the first couple of seasons by quite a bit. But
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think that show started to pick up in Season 3, but Season 4, when they added Worf, and really got into the war stuff and the Klingon stuff, and it just really took off for me.
And that's probably about the time where I hadn't been watching, so I am looking forward to that.
So, yeah, eventually we'll get Worf. So don't miss him too much, because he's going to go away for a little bit and come right back.
Because I remember seeing him on DS9, and it just...
Well, that show was always the Star Trek that had trouble with the rankings, and they said, let's give them one of our popular characters. And it worked. It was so good. Worf really fit in well with that crew. I say DS9 Worf is better than Next Gen Worf.
Yep.
Yeah, by far. We're seeing now how they found the humor in Worf and the way to really write Worf, and he just fits in that gray world of DS9 so much better than the bright, clean Next Gen. Next Gen is the perfect utopian future.
Yeah.
DS9 is the gritty underbelly. And I love that.
I'm excited about
I love that.
I hadn't thought about it that way. It's very interesting. It's I would also say, just in general, Worf would, he keeps improving as time goes on as they do it. Although it felt like in this season there were a lot of dips. They started strong with what he was doing. Every now and then they'll bring a good Alexander thing in with him.
Yeah.
But other than that, he was just kind of there for a couple of things.
But Next Gen is the crew of the best of the field, like top of the fleet, flagship. DS9 is the backward station that's supposed to be a career dead end that they put a bunch of misfits on.
Well, I'm not talking about the framework. I'm just saying the way the writing has been going.
Gotcha.
They've been falling off on him, and so.
Yeah.
But each time he comes back and they do something with him, it gets even better.
I think we still got some good Worf stuff ahead of us.
Oh, certainly. That's what I mean. It's just it will keep getting better, but for this season in particular, yes.
Well, I think that's closing the book on Season 5.
Yeah.
Enjoy your hiatus. We aren't really taking a hiatus. We kind of took one in December, January. November, December, into January. But we will give you a couple specials in the next 6 weeks. Buck Rogers, Free Enterprise, Chaos on the Bridge, and then we will be back for TNG Season 6. It's going to feel real weird. Just like we waited 6 weeks for Best of Both Worlds Part 1 and 2. Times Arrow.
Did we?
We did.
That's funny.
I feel like it's going to be weird to wait 6 weeks again for Times Arrow Part 2, but...
Remember what happened.
No, you'll be fine. Until then, live long.
To be continued and prosper.
Fire!
Nice.
Never gets old. That was 2 seasons ago.
2?
2!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?